So, good evening to those of you who are joining us. We will get started in a couple minutes. We're very pleased that you've decided to spend an hour with us this evening, and I'm sure that you will feel that it was well spent. So I am going to go ahead and get started. And of course, I always like to start with our SCORE commercial. So we are SCORE Cleveland. And if my slides will move. Again, we have the largest network of free volunteer small business mentors. So no matter what your stage is, there is someone here who can help you. Across the country, there are approximately 10,000 mentors with every kind of background you can imagine. And if we don't have somebody in Cleveland who can help you, we can find somebody somewhere across the country who can. So our mission is to foster vibrant small business communities. And we do this through mentoring and education. So we hope that you as a small business owner have all the support that you need to be successful. We are well aware that small businesses make the economy go. In fact, more than 95% of businesses are small businesses. So you're an important aspect, not only to the country, but specifically to Cleveland, that has been revitalized recently, mostly because of you as small business owners. So we have people from all walks of life. About 10% of our mentees are veterans. And over half of our clients are women. So the women are taking over. These are just some statistics from our 2002 year. We don't have the 2023 yet, but these are the things that we've done in the Cleveland area, and be aware that includes 7 counties. And I believe we're going to add Trumbull County as of the beginning of October. Because we get support from the Small Business Administration and quite a number of other businesses in Cleveland, we can provide our services to you free of charge. And we're really pleased about that. And I did want to make a special announcement about our upcoming Cleveland Connect 2023. This is a wonderful opportunity for all of our mentees to do networking with other SCORE clients, with SCORE mentors, and with some of our partners. We are limiting it to 200 clients. Whoops, what happened there? So we hope you'll sign up for it. And I'm going, since I close my slides arbitrarily there, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tracy and let her get started with her slides.
Thank you so much, Anita. Appreciate it.
And I'm sorry, Tracy, just one quick thing before you get started. Anita, can you please enable me to be able to respond in the chat, please? And also, this session is actually scheduled to go from 7 to 9 as opposed to 1 hour. So hopefully everybody can hang with us. I've seen some repeaters, and so glad to see everybody back. And I do apologize. Tracy, please go ahead and take it away.
Oh, all good. Appreciate it. We got to make sure all our people are taken care of. Look at, we've got so many of our ladies back in the house from last week.
Well, I hope so. I think people have really enjoyed the first sessions and want to continue. It's a pretty exciting series.
All right, so here, can everyone see my slides?
Yeah, I think they're your slides. They look like mine, but I think they're
right?
Yours.
See, they're very familiar.
Yeah, so just flip through those. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So I would like to welcome everyone this evening to the Soft Skills this is the third session in the series that's all about leadership. And tonight we're kicking off all about solving problems at the source, how to empower your team to be solution oriented. This one is a two-part because no matter how many ways Karen and I looked at this, we could only come up with doing it twice, right, Karen? That's just where it was. So it needed 2 sessions on this topic. So we're gonna dive in, and I just would like to go over the agenda for the night and let you know that there's going to be lots of time within our presentation for you to give feedback and answer questions. So I hope that you're ready to stay engaged and have as much fun as possible tonight. So when we're talking about how to empower your team to be solution oriented, we're going to really dive into practical strategies to foster a culture of problem solving. Our prior workshops in this series, we really dug into culture, and this is just another layer. So it's another layer on top of why culture is so important. We're gonna dig into the key principles of solution-oriented thinking and communication, and we're gonna share some valuable insights into empowering your team to contribute their best ideas and solutions, as well as address like the issues at the root cause, and that will lead to sustainable and efficient problem solving for the long-term resolution. So I want to say that we so respect and appreciate your time, and we welcome you to this webinar and congratulate you for making the decision to be here, to invest in yourself and to invest in your business. So first of all, remember that you are amazing, and the fact that you're doing this for yourself is really, really worth celebrating at the very beginning. Just your decision to be here shows that you are on the right path in your business. So tonight, I want to ask you some questions about things that I'm just a bit curious about before we dive into everything. And Karen is running the chat. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Please interact with us and let us know how we can best serve you. So tonight,
Tracy?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, to that end, someone in the chat was indicating that the screen or the slides were too big and they weren't able to make out everything, and just asking if you could shrink it a little bit. I don't know if that's possible.
Let's see if I can shrink it without, let's see. When I do this, let's see. Can you still see them when I shrink it to that? Is that too small?
We can't see them at all. It doesn't look like you're sharing at all.
So, okay.
Yeah, I don't think that you can shrink them. I'm not sure. I don't think it's your slides. I think it must be the other end. And I wouldn't try to do anything.
Okay. Well, I apologize if it's not working.
Right. And on the other end, if you press Control and then the minus sign on your computer, that should help to shrink your screen, just FYI.
Okay. So if you can put in the chat and share with us, these are a few things I'm just curious about. How many of you on this call right now are business owners? And if you're watching the replay later, how many of you are business owners? And the next question is, how many of you business owners want to be successful? Put it in the chat by a show of hands, whatever works. The thing is that according to the Small Business Association, 85% of businesses close their doors before their 10th anniversary. So it's super important if you are a business owner and you plan to be successful, which I know the answer is yes. I'm acting a little from a place of humor here, but the idea is when we raise our hand and make the decision that we want to be successful, that is a place that you'll be part of the 15% that is going to celebrate your 10th anniversary, right? It's like you have to plan this long-term success path, right? We can't just take it day by day. We have to have a long-term plan. And that's one of the amazing things about SCORE. They really help you on this journey. So my commitment to you tonight from all of us that are volunteers here, Karen, myself, Anita, we commit to you that tonight is going to invoke curiosity about running your business. We're going to help you get curious. We're going to add as much value in the area of communication, and we're going to open up some opportunities for you to think different about the problems you and your team are facing. So how does that sound to everyone? Are we good to move on? Karen, how's it going in the chat?
We're going just fine in the chat.
Okay, cool. So everyone likes our commitment. Yay.
Yes, but we can't see your slides still, just so you know.
How could you not? You can't see the slides?
No, we don't see any slides.
Any at all? How did that happen when we switched things over? Okay,
Yes, it did.
I'm gonna change the whole game then. Let's start over. I'm gonna change all of this and we'll just unshare. Okay. That's so weird. Hold on. Let me readjust. Maybe when I shrunk everything before, we must have lost it. And here I was thinking you saw my cool stuff. Anyways, all good. So by a show of hands, how many people are currently experiencing change? Whether it's in your real life, your business life, how many of you are experiencing change? I'm working on the change factor right now of, right, here's a solution. We're going to hold up our hand as we figure this all out. Every time I go to hit share screen, it is taking me back to the beginning. I have no idea what's happening here. We've never had that problem. Okay, so it's all good. Let's see. Can I share this with you a different way? Let's share a new way. How about now? Can you see again?
We have liftoff.
Woohoo! Okay. See, I love technology when it works, and there's always a go around. So thank you, Zoom, for doing another update. I had to literally go out to 3 extensions to share this. So there you go. So how many of you are experiencing great change, right? In the area of your life, your business, all of the above. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time. And it says, in times of change, learners inherit the earth, while the learned find themselves beautifully equipped to deal with a world that no longer exists, right? So when we're talking about adapting to solution-oriented thinking, when we're talking about leading our team to make decisions that are based on solutions rather than problems, this fosters a lot of change. And with this, we won't always know exactly what the change is, right? Like we don't have that crystal ball, but we can be prepared to embrace the changes that are headed our way. And the more that we are proactive in solutions, the more proactive we're leading our team to be. So, is it possible that everyone on this call knows what a GPS is? Does everyone know what a GPS is? I'm just curious, Karen, are people saying if they know what a GPS is?
Yes, I have a few yes in the chat.
So at one time, did we maybe not know what a GPS was? Now, if you think about leading your team through through change and through solution-oriented thinking, this is going to serve as your GPS, right? This is going to serve as a GPS to steer your business in the right direction. So I always love this because I have a joke, my husband and I'm a traveler at heart, and I am pretty good at direction, and I do a lot of feeling my way. It's just the way that things work for me. He is not the best. Don't tell him I said that, but he's just not the best at direction. So single-handedly, GPS has made it so that we have been happily married for almost 19 years. So thank goodness it was invented early on in our marriage. So that's why I often use this picture, because it really helps the people that need the next step go the next step. And those that are like, oh, wait, what's the direction? When you look at your business as and set a clear map for how to be successful, all the pieces fall together. So some of the key principles for solution-oriented thinking that we're going to dive into and uncover are something I call be present. So we have to be present to everything that's going on. Like, we can't just bury our head in the sand. We have to be present. And we're going to dive into one of the best tools that I have, that I share with clients all the time on being present. And it's the S+B=R. So you might want to write that down. And as we dive into this, this is a tool that can literally help you implement that business map GPS into both your life and business just by following the S+B+R. So go ahead and write that down now, but we're going to uncover it more and more. The other things that are really tried and true principles to solution-oriented thinking are listening with the intent to solve a problem. And then to be the real type of nice, which means telling people the truth, even when it's hard, even when they might not like us, because it's for the greater good of the organization, right? Like, we can't just tell people the nicey nice things and not help them grow, because later, when they've been around a long time and you're telling them, oh yeah, you weren't doing that right, they're going to say, hey, why didn't you tell me that the first month I was hired? So thinking about it from this way, we're going to dive into the triple win. And the triple win is where the client or customer that you serve wins, when the business wins and the team member wins. When things aren't a triple win, it's really hard to negotiate from that place, right? We need to be in a situation where all three areas are winning. And then we're going to dive into encouraging innovation and creativity. Is everyone cool on the slides? Can everyone still see them? Yes? Okay. Karen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And
Okay.
yes, everybody can still see the slides.
Okay, good. I'm just like, let's do a technology check to make sure. So the formula that will change your life, it has changed my life significantly, is the S+B=R. And this is something that when you pull back every single thing that happens in both business and our life, everything comes down to, there's a situation. When we attach a behavior, that equals the result. So when we sit in blame of anything, like when we blame the traffic, and that's why we were late to work, it's always great to peel back the layers and say, okay, here was the situation. You were driving to work and you only allowed X amount of time. So that was your behavior that equaled the result. Now, oftentimes there will be traffic, things that are unnecessary circumstances come up and things happen. But if we include a buffer amount of time, which is another behavior, we will get a different result and still be early to our meeting. And just here's a real life thing. I'm going to share behind the scenes. And Karen, I hope this is cool with you. I'm going to just assume that it is. We were having some technical difficulties before getting on this call because the link wasn't being sent. If we weren't all prepared for the situation, being that we were here to serve and do the best job possible for all of you that are here to learn about solution-oriented thinking, then we would have been late and all sorts of different things happen. But because Karen's a professional, she reached out early. Anita and I were able to send her links to get her on this call. We were all here together, right? Had she chose to wait till 5 minutes to 7 to get on a call, wouldn't happen, right? Same thing with me just now. If I didn't have 12 different ways that we could share the slides, you wouldn't see all the visuals that are really important for you to lock into memory. So remember, everything is a situation, right? We all have different situations. Everyone is going through something, but the behavior we attach to it is what actually gives us the result. And so many people walk around blaming the situation instead of realizing the power that they have exists in what behavior they attach to it. Karen, anything to add on that?
No, ma'am, you're doing great.
Thank you. Okay, so just for tonight, I'm going to ask you to completely fire me as your speaker and workshop facilitator. Just completely fire me and hire me tonight just as your business growth strategist. That's it. Karen and I are here to serve you. And I'm just going to do a little bit of background because you might be asking yourself, well, how do I know that you know what you're talking about? Like, I always keep it real like that. How do I even know that you might know what you're talking about? So if that's a question that's ever gone in your mind when you're attending any workshop, we want to make sure that you know how much important service we do to serve business owners. So that is what Karen and I are going to share with you tonight. So if you're wondering why, my name is Tracy Watt-Serino. I'm a 5-time international bestselling author, speaker, and business growth strategist. I have a podcast called Beyond Common Business Secrets that's in the top 5%. And prior to all of that, I was an award-winning business owner in the beauty and cosmetic industry. I've created several global courses and currently the creator of Beyond Common Business Essentials. And recently going through the process of having different industries take my training and license it to train their team members. So Karen, do you want to talk through your stuff, Karen, or do you want me to do it?
I can do it. That's fine. Thank you. So I am a coach and consulting. I am the owner. I'm sorry. Maybe I should have let you do it. I'm getting tongue tied here. I'm the owner of Legacy Builders Coaching and Consulting. I have been in the industry many years. I've led teams in childcare, in banking, in public communication, and in higher education. I was a single mother for a very, very long time, but it did not stop me from pushing forward. I got my undergrad from Notre Dame College in human resource development. I have a master's degree in education in adult learning and development. And I also have an MBA from the University of Phoenix. And I also am certified in Lean Six Sigma with my yellow belt. So I've also served on.
We're losing you, Karen. Can you guys hear her? I lost the audio unless it's me. So
it's not just you. I think she froze.
Okay. So
Maybe
let's
she'll
just
come back.
say that Karen's brilliant. She has all of these awards and certifications, and she is such an asset to SCORE. We are so blessed to have her. So Karen, thank you so much for all that you do to volunteer and share all of your business. You're just a wealth of knowledge, and I'm just beyond grateful that I get to do this with you. So Karen, when you can hear us again, let us know when you're back. Anita, is everything good that everyone can still see my slides?
Yes, you're fine.
Thank you so much. So when we think about solving problems at the source, there can be many sources of a problem, but the more time that we spent getting clear on what the problem actually is, how much more likely do you think we are to solve it if we know where the actual source is? Just curious, right? That's always one of those things. So for many, many years, I struggled with this so much. I always would say that I come from a long line of fiery Sicilian great grandmas, aunties, all this stuff. And I would be so afraid when I was leading my team to be crystal clear, because I was afraid of coming off just like the very hot-headed Sicilian, because I knew that about myself from my upbringing. And it's really interesting because when I would sort of try to sandwich it down and play small and try to make it not clear, it would drive my team crazy. It would infuriate them because they wouldn't even understand what I was talking about. So we were constantly creating more problems instead of arriving at the solution. So when I was trying to play it safe, stay small, I actually was creating so much more friction and creating so much lock that was not allowing my team and myself to grow and flourish. So once I embraced the idea that as long as I'm clear and really concise with the words I'm using, and my intention is pure of heart for their growth, then they love hearing it in my fiery way that has a lot of enthusiasm. It was when I was trying to dilute the message so much that they couldn't get it. And that was just one of those hiccups in leadership, that sometimes we're afraid to really be clear about what we need and expect from our team, for fear that they won't like us, or that they'll think we're mean, or in my case, I'm like, oh, they're going to be afraid because I'm like the loud Sicilian lady. So once I overcame that and really was confident in how I delivered the message, that is when we were able to unlock so much innovation and really, really grow a Beyond Common team. So I'm just curious, what do the best in every industry have in common? If you can put that in the chat. Is Karen back with us?
I am here.
Oh, yay. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So in the chat is, if everyone can let us know, is what do the best in every industry have in common?
We have curiosity.
Good.
Folks are still thinking.
Okay, we'll give them a minute. I'll go back to that slide. This is
being real, Irma says.
Yes, right? Don't pretend that you're not loud and fiery.
Teamwork. They inspire their staff, champion their vision. We have. Oh, you guys are on fire tonight.
Love it. Yay.
Passion is another.
Yeah. So when we think about in every industry what the best have in common. There are so many pieces, but when you lead your team to be solution oriented, take these pieces with you, right? Like coach them through it, invoke curiosity within your team, but come from a place of curiosity. Be part of the teamwork that comes to the solution. So when we put all those pieces together, then we can look at this as a process. So if you want a full-on process, that there are 7 steps to effective decision making, and problems cannot be solved until there is a decision made. So that's why we're putting the idea of effective decision making in front of us diving into all the solutions. Am I making any sense over here, Karen?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm following.
Do you have anything to add to this decision-making stair step that we have here?
No,
I
only
do-
to say that it is a stair step. It is a process, and we have to remember that, right? And sometimes, think about what happens when you're going up or coming down the stairs and you miss one, right? That stumble can be life-changing, right? And so you want to always think of it as a process, and you want to follow the steps. You don't want to take the shortcuts, because at the end, and if you look at Tracy's, if you look at her formula, her S plus B equals R, even, your behaviors, right? That includes how you follow steps in the process, right? And then ultimately that's going to impact the results. So you want to make sure that you're not taking shortcuts, because you're only shortcutting yourself.
Absolutely. And it's true. So often we take a tumble down the stairs. It is life-changing, right? So when I was putting all of this together for tonight's workshop, I was creating and then I found this I figured Dartmouth has like the smartest brilliant minds, and they created a visual. So we're using theirs. And that's why I'm sharing that with you, because they've got it down, right? So we don't have to reinvent the wheel on this. And Karen, thank you for pointing out, this does go exactly with my formula about the situation plus your behavior. It's like sprinkle on the behavior. That's what's going to give you the result. And all of these are part of that process. So I love that you made that connection. Thank you, Karen. So that is from the standpoint of making a decision. So this is what's going to be necessary for us to roll up our sleeves and be leaders that are key decision makers. From there, we can step into what does problem solving at the source look like? And I love, love, love that it was Adobe defined problem solving as creative problem solving is the process of redefining problems and opportunities, coming up with new innovative responses and solutions, and then taking action. I thought that was the most beautiful definition that I have ever seen. So we wanted to use that for you today. So when we're thinking about problems at the source, like what does this actually look like in action? And here's something, you can take a screenshot of this. You can write it down, whatever type of note taker that you are. But this is a really nice color graphic to show you that when you're going to identify the problem that you want to work on, then you're going to gather the relevant data. So if there's a problem in one department of your business and you do not ask at the source, you're already setting yourself up for a solution that's not going to fit. So think about going to the actual people in that division or that section of your business and gathering the data from there, the relevant data from there. That is the number one mistake so many of my business owner clients make. They're like, oh, well, I asked these 5 people. And my comeback question is, are they in that department? Are they people that are working on the front lines of where the problem is created. And if the answer is no, then you're going to have to, you have to go to the source to gather the right data. Karen, do you have anything to add on that?
No, ma'am, I love it.
That is one of those things. And and let's face it, there's no judgment here on any of this. Like we've all done it. I've done it. This is one of the jokes I'll tell a lot when I'm speaking on stage is like, so often we go to work and complain about our husband, but then we go home and complain about, the people we work with to our husband, where if we could just switch those and look at it different, like here's the situation, you want to behave in a manner that's going to have a conversation with the person that can actually do something about it. So when you go directly to your loved one, to the person you're in a relationship with, and you speak to them about the challenges and problems you're having in the relationship, they can help you do something about it together. You're going to make this solution. And the same thing, when you are in your place of business, especially if you're the leader, you need to talk directly to the people that have the ability to help you make the change. If you complain to your family members, it's just going to stress you out and stress them out. And it's just really funny because it's human nature to think like, oh, I just need to talk this out. And I would say that that's a different thing. Like, right, you might have your business besties where you can talk this kind of stuff through. But ultimately, when it comes to real problem solving, you want to go to the source and gather the data. Once you're there at the source, then you can clarify the problem together. Like oftentimes it's like if you spend all your time gathering data and then trying to clarify the problem without the relevant data from the actual source, everything gets jumbled and you will spend hours of time and not have a viable solution. So save yourself the time by going to the relevant source. Then together you can generate the possible solutions. From there, you as the leader can select the best possible option and then implement your decision and monitor your choice. Karen, do you have anything to add on that one?
I do. Just a couple of quick things. Number one, when you go to the source, you don't want to go in a defensive way. You are at that point just trying to gather information. So you don't want to approach your folks with an accusatory, kind of a tone, but rather, hey, I noticed this, whatever the situation is, can you help me understand, maybe what happened or how do we get to that point? Because a lot of times also the problem that you think that you are solving is really a symptom of something else.
Oh,
and so,
amen. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you really want to be able to get to the root cause of something and not just address the symptoms. Because if you don't get to the root cause, you're only spinning your wheels dealing with symptoms that are going to reoccur because you never address the problem, And so oftentimes, you also have to know this about yourself. If you are not a person that likes to confront issues, right, then you're going to have to find a way, because you're the leader in your company, in your organization. You're going to have to find a way to be able to have those crucial and critical conversations with folks there, and that's if you need to get some training, if you need to get some development on that, there are people that can help you with that. But again, if you go in it from a place of trying to understand rather than a place of trying to correct already, like I already have all the answers, I think you will find that you will have more fruitful conversations. So I just wanted to say those couple of things. And then Kelly in the chat says, one thing to be mindful of is if it's an interpersonal problem, ask a mentor if it's a pattern of yours. Right? Yeah, if it's not, then to address the problem with your employee. That is so awesome, Kelly. Critical. You're right. Because sometimes it's you and not them. right?
So let me add something to that, because
Yes.
when we're in that process for digging deeper and gathering data, one of the ways to get that is to say, hey, I'm just curious, can you walk me through this? And just, there's nothing, you know what I'm saying? There's no, it's one of those things. I'm just curious, can you walk me through this? And it opens up the conversation in a way, just like you're saying, Karen, there's nothing accusatory there. Just walk me through. Sometimes I've even had to say in situations where it's like, hey, I saw this one thing. Am I losing it, or did this really happen? I've literally said that because sometimes we don't know if it is something that is part of our pattern, or if it really was something that happened, right? So I love, was it Kelly that said that? Like
Yes, that was
when
Kelly. Mhm.
yeah, like when you're like in a situation where you have the time to go ask the mentor, absolutely. And then other times it's like, hey, I just saw this. Is this what really happened? Like, walk me through this. Sometimes that is just a nice softener where you're just coming at it as just like a little clue. You're just gathering clues. And it's one of those things that when your team knows you're doing it from a place of support and you have that level of buy-in, because of, like we've talked about in the previous sessions, when you have that level of buy-in because you've been clear about setting up your culture, they know your why. Like, these are the fundamentals that have to exist before we can just go start asking people all these kind of questions. Anything else to add there?
No, ma'am.
So once we implement, the decisions, then we're just going to monitor. And it's really important to stress to your team that, hey, this is what we're doing right now, right? So that people can remain flexible and innovative. When we get locked into thinking this is going to be like this forever, that's where solving problems at any source becomes very challenging, right? So keeping it to where it's clear, and when we have more information, we will change. When you approach it that way, the team is more likely to want to help with the problem solving, but then they're also not going to get their feelings hurt if you didn't pick their solution. You might have picked somebody else because you thought it was a better solution when you're in this collaborative space. So that's just another layer to the decision-making process that can help us stay in that sense of really, really coming at this from a place of what's the best solution with the information we have right now at this moment. That could all change tomorrow, right? I will forever be talking about this, but as a business owner when we're all going through COVID, I made the executive decision to close one of our in-person face-to-face businesses before it was a forced close, because I saw some really strange behaviors happening between clients and our team members. That was an executive decision. And then within 12 hours, I had more information, and there were different decisions being made all the time. So oftentimes we just have to make the best decision for everyone involved at that moment, and then know as more information is released, we'll make a different decision, right? I love this quote from Albert Einstein. It's one of my favorites. So first, we always have to ask ourselves, what is the evidence that problem solving is critical to business futures? So currently, right now, we are in this shift to more innovation-driven companies. The innovation-driven economy in the business world has been so abrupt. It is changing rapidly. The speed of change is driving the need for organizations to continually innovate and find new ways of working. We need new products. There's new problems now because of all this innovation. I literally just interviewed a new client the other day, and this business is so amazing she organizes your Google files, because now with the introduction of ChatGPT and all these ways that you can create content for your business, she now is like organizing this. It's almost like the, you know, the home edit for your digital files. So we wouldn't have needed that long ago, but this is an innovative business that so many people are going to need. It's so viable to right now. So as we move beyond these problems to like a resolution quickly, but I love what this quote is from Albert Einstein, and this one cracks me up because he had more patents, more inventions than anyone that we know of, and it's like he says that if he was given 1 hour to save the planet, he would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and then only 5 minutes actually on resolving it. So what comes up for you when you think about that, right? Because sometimes we so quickly try to, you know, put out a fire or do something so quickly. So what happens when you really think about, like, how can you spend a little bit time really defining the root cause of a problem? And like, to reference back what Karen said, not just solving a symptom, but the root cause. Like, what does that look like? Karen, do you have anything to add there?
Well, no, I just think that you did a great job in bringing that back around. The one thing that I did want to just mention from what you were talking about before is, and I loved the idea of continuing to try new things, right? But it is so important that, as you were, alluding to, but like specifically saying, set the expectations right out the gate. We have this problem that we are trying to address. And after you try one thing, if you try it 6 months, I mean, you have to give it a significant amount of time to see if it gains some momentum and if some things turn around. But let's say you do it for 6 months. Let's debrief then with the team about the things that are working well with it, and then the things that could use some tweaking, because sometimes you come up with a great solution, but maybe one piece of it doesn't work well. So it doesn't mean you scrap the whole thing. It means you may tweak that one thing and try something different before you move on to an entirely different solution altogether. So you just want to be mindful. And Tracy said that before, monitoring, but monitoring means that you are taking notes and you're keeping up with those things along the way. And you have touch points along the way. You need to implement touch points, after a week, after a month, after 3 months, before you get to the end of that, whatever the cycle is that you're trying, so that you can be tweaking things along the way as well to see what's working and did this work better. You don't have to keep doing it wrong just because it is an experimental solution to a very real problem. You want to get to a good resolution as quickly as possible.
Karen, I love what you said. That brings up the most funny point. Whenever I go into businesses and I hear from multiple people, oh, but this is the way we've always done it, I know they have a huge problem. Whenever it's this is the way we've always done it, that literally means that people are getting too territorial and they're getting stuck and complacent. So listen for those type of things, because when you're truly being innovative, people know that, yeah, this is how we do this here, but they don't say, oh, we've always done it this way, because things are always evolving, always changing. So systems, processes, solutions need to be always evolving along with your company.
And I love this quote that Irma put in the chat. She says, "You cannot solve what you do not understand."
Right. Oh, that's a good one. I love that. Right. So if you don't fully understand the root cause, you've got to get to the people that know the problem, that really know the root cause. And that goes back to what our buddy here, Albert Einstein, says is like, spend as much time as possible defining that problem before you even try to come up with a solution. Because if you just solve, like, it's kind of like the layers of the onion, right? Like if you just solve an outer layer, that's not going to actually help you get to the inside so that you can, solve the big stinking problem at the core. So as we move on to, we've gone down sort of this ladder, like here's the 7 decisions, the stages of decision making, and then going clear through the 6 steps of really clearly defining the root cause, gathering data, and really, there's another, like, when, say you have a team member that is telling you, oh, this is a problem, you have to go gather information and get enough people that are in agreement, because sometimes there are people on your team that just think it's a problem, right? But if it's not causing any actual issue, then you might go down a rabbit hole of solving something that isn't even a problem. So you've got to, it's almost like, there's a quote, I wish I just thought of it now, but it's like, if 3 people, if one person tells you something, go do some research. If 5 people tell you something, okay, really, really dig in a little bit. And then I think the next part of the quote is, okay, now if everybody tells you it, there must be a conspiracy, but it's supposed to be funny in the sense that that means there's actually a problem and you need to do something about it, right? So when we look at it through being open to really gathering the data that tells us where the root cause is, once we know that, this is a simple, like 4-step, like the 4 stages of problem solving that you can go through to simplify it after you've done all of those deeper dive pieces. And that is when you can clearly define the problem and then brainstorm some alternatives and then make a decision, then you implement the decision. And like Karen said, you want, depending on the type of problem that there is, you want to make sure that it's something that you're going to give a runway, like 6 months, but in 3 months, we're going to check here. And then 6 months, what little tweaks can we make to make it even better? It's like the idea of problem solving at the root cause, at the source, is more about understanding that we're always refining and elevating it so it doesn't stay static. Why it's really important to brainstorm alternatives, and I think this could be a fun exercise for all of us to do right now, is in the chat, who would like to share a business problem that they're currently having? No judgment. We're gonna do a fun brainstorm to help.
Okay, I think folks are thinking and typing.
Yes, I know it takes a hot minute.
Yeah.
So,
but the other thing, while we're waiting on some responses in the chat, Tracy, if I may interject as well, because I would hazard to say that we should be doing this all the time, right? We should be meeting with our teams all the time. Not only should we be meeting with our teams, we should be conducting one-on-one sessions with each team member. And I know that at the top, it sounds very, very time consuming. And you may say, we don't have time to do this and that. But trust me, if you take time out to do some of those things, you find out, number one, exactly what is on everybody's mind. Before problems become catastrophes, you get to kind of know what folks are struggling with. And it gives you the opportunity to follow these processes all along so that you are able to address things as they occur. So the first person to enter something, Lisa says that staff not aligned on job responsibilities and taking accountability.
Okay. So Karen, I love what you said about the one-on-ones. And in this day and age where the power of the people, they're going to be the number one, resource and asset to your business growing at this point, almost every industry needs people. And we need quality people, good people that get behind our mission, our vision, that understand the why, that want to be part of the solution. A professional development meetings scheduled and consistent is a number one job requirement for people that know that they are quality team members, and it is something that they look for. So that is super important to think about, making sure that, like, you brought up an interesting point about the timing. It's like in today's day and age, we don't have time not to do these things. You know, making sure you do professional development meetings with your team is so important. Now, as you grow, you might have different leadership do the professional development meetings of new staff coming on, and you know, because you can't spread yourself so thin that you're doing it for everyone. So as your team grows, a process to have in place that adds value to the problem solving overall is to make sure that this idea of having professional development meetings at all levels is really important to the innovative growth of your company. So, what was the problem that we're going to brainstorm here? We're going to brainstorm alternatives. We're going to get everyone involved.
Well, here's the thing. So what Lisa put in the chat was that the staff not aligned on job responsibilities and taking accountability. So for me, when I hear that, I guess I feel like I need to have a little bit more, because do you have job descriptions? Do you have something that is in place that so that folks really, I mean, there should be no confusion about what their responsibilities are. Taking accountability is a whole separate situation, but if the staff are not aligned on the job responsibilities, then I have to look back at the leader to say, how are you communicating to them what those job responsibilities are? And is there just one position, or are there several positions? You know, like for me, I'm a person, we're going to have to take a deeper dive. So if you, okay, so Lisa says we do have job descriptions, and I guess it's more laziness within staff. Well, then that's a behavior, right? And so how are you holding staff? How are you holding staff accountable? Not just about them taking responsibility and accountability. How are you holding them accountable?
Yes. And that goes back to the formula, the situation plus behavior equals result. So what you permit, you promote. So if we're looking at this, we have to ask all these questions. And this is where we're clearly defining the problem. Is this just a symptom of the root cause? So we have to keep going deeper. It's like, what is the deeper meaning of, you know, of why people wouldn't be in alignment and in feeling that they're a part of it? Like, are they signing off on the job description? Is it clear when things change? So we're having to go deeper and deeper, and we can continue to ask these deeper questions and solve this sort of brainstorm about what are all the possible things that could be the layer underneath this symptom of the problem. Did that even make sense, what I just said? I hope it did.
Yes, it made sense. And to add to that just a little bit, Tracy, we also, as we're going through these processes, we have to be willing to take a good look at how we're showing up as well. We have to make sure that we're doing the right things in the right way, and that we are communicating with our staff. Now, me, I'm not a person that really likes to repeat myself a lot, but we find that sometimes that we have to do that. And then there comes a time when we have to begin to take measures to address the behavior, because what happens is if you let it go with one person, then you have the other person that is really busting it out and really trying to work hard. Then they begin to say, why should I do all of this when so-and-so does nothing, so-and-so, whatever the case may be. And then what you have is you begin to have other employees assimilate into the culture that you are allowing to take hold in your business. And so nobody is assimilating to the right pieces, but they're saying, well, this person is doing this without consequence, so I want to do that too. You're not going to work me to death, or you're not going to burn me out. And so there also has to be that consistency in how you address these various issues, because if folks don't see, or they get the sense that nothing is happening and that bad behavior is not being addressed, that's not on them, but it is on the management and leadership structure.
Absolutely. And that is often, for a lot of leaders and managers, that is often a hard pill to swallow, right? The thing is that we're always learning and growing, and we can constantly improve our communication. We can clearly define roles, but if we do not, and I always reframe this to like, let's hold people able, right? Because you can't make people accountable. They have to be accountable. So you can hold them able, and you can set the stage for what it looks like to be a part of your team. And if people don't meet that standard, then there's probably AI that can replace them. No, I'm just teasing. Well, maybe soon enough. I'm just kidding. But the thing is that we can hold ourselves to the standard of what we're looking for. And if we do we sweep it under the rug for one person, then our A players are gonna get, like, just like what Karen said, they're gonna get upset and feel like, well, why should I keep killing myself when all of these people are slackers, right? So we've got to make sure we have conversations that everyone's role is clear. Like, everyone doesn't have the same unique talents, and we need to maximize our team, like our what's the word I'm looking for? We need to maximize our team talents and resource, the resources of our people. But these have to be conversations that are open, and there's a dialogue about it, so that if there's a season that one person is doing a lot, that it's not just being ignored that somebody is doing less. Like, their time is like, there's ways to do it without saying, okay, you're all fired, and we're just gonna hire people that do X, Y, and Z. That's not the best strategy, unless it is, right? Unless it is, because there are some businesses that just need to start over because they have all the wrong people in the wrong seats on the bus. And if that's the thing that's holding you back from getting to the next level, you'll have to dig deep through your problems, through the layers of the problem solving, and figure that out. But when we decide what's the standard, we have to bring our team along with us.
Now, excuse me, Tracy, in the chat, Lisa says that her GM currently does one-on-ones.
Okay.
And she asked, should she also be attending those meetings? Do you want to respond, or?
I would respond with this, is
okay,
that if your current situation in your business is not giving you the results that you want, so it goes back to, here's the situation, what's our behavior? If you're not getting the result you want, you need to change your behavior, right? So I would say that is a nice, viable brainstorm solution as something I would try, and just say, hey, I'm going to sit in with you because I want to help you get better as a mentor, as a coach. You're helping your managers grow, your team leads, whatever word you use in your organization. Everyone uses a different word these days. There's no commonality here. So I would start there, but come at it that you're helping everyone get better, because that's how you'll have a standard. And then I would train people on how you do that until you feel like they're ready to have their wings to do it themselves. Karen, what would you add?
Well, I would say that certainly is a solution, and definitely without a doubt, I would make sure that if you're going to join those one-on-ones, you do make it feel as though you're just coming to help. Because what happens is when you have two folks in leadership in a room with in a one-on-one with someone, if you don't set that stage, if you don't create that environment, they feel like they're being ganged up on, no matter what the conversation is that goes on there. I would also say, but I don't think it's a bad thing, and it could be a way to save time. However, if your GM is not in and present all the time, it may be that in that one-on-one, those employees want to say something about you. You want to give them the space to be able to do that. And then in your one-on-ones with the GM, have some dialogue around that. And so I would say that there's still nothing wrong with you starting your own. And don't get me wrong, a one-on-one should not necessarily be something that lasts an hour. It also should be something that is rather structured. And so I currently have one-on-ones with a very brand new team. I'm in an interim role right now. I have a brand new team, and I set up one-on-ones with them. I created an agenda that just, for my questions, it was just kind of, how are you? What are your priorities for this week? Kind of what do you want to have accomplished? But then when I met with them for the first time, I sent them the template of the agenda that I created and told them, these one-on-ones are for you. These are your meetings. These are your opportunities to get to know me, and they're your opportunities to share whatever you have or you see as issues or things that you want to discuss, or is there any professional development opportunities you'd like to explore? So my expectation is that when we have our one-on-ones, that you come with an agenda. I may have a few things to add, but this is really your time. And I think when you frame your one-on-ones that way, it's more positive, and they get to create the things that they want to talk about. And it's not, and you still may have things to add, but you can do 15 to 20 minute one-on-ones, and still be effective if they are planned. If we are not just getting in a room and saying, so what's up?
Oh yeah, definitely must have an agenda. Even great if you have like a standard, like if that's part of your standard operating procedure of how the professional development one-on-ones are conducted. This way there is uniformity across all the different channels within your company.
Can I throw in a comment or two here?
Yes, go right ahead, Anita.
Just from my experience, one of the things that I felt worked well for me was to have it very clear what the goals of our organization are. So every month have a staff meeting and talk about, here are the goals we're working on, and everybody has a responsibility relative to those goals. And every meeting we talk about what progress you've made towards your piece in the goal. And if we do that in an open meeting, it comes out pretty quickly who's not meeting their standards. And it's, in a way, a good way to keep people in line without having to make a harsh comment, because it just becomes obvious. And if you publish these things, if you post things, here's our goal, here's where we are, then people can relate to that and feel, here's what I'm contributing to my organization. And I always found that was very helpful.
I love that, Anita. It definitely creates the buy-in where people are like, oh yeah, I'm part of this, right? And they get excited, and it's almost like it creates that healthy competition where everybody's bettering their best. So I love that.
Yeah. Well, I think that, for small businesses, and you're the leader, you have to be both a leader and a manager. And the leader is the person who inspires and excites people, encourage them to be innovative and so forth. But the manager part of you has to hold them accountable. And you do that by setting goals and by assigning tasks related to those goals and then monitoring them. And I also think it's really important to give people feedback on a regular basis. You know, don't wait for a 6-month or a 12-month performance evaluation. If you see something, sit that person down and say, look, I noticed that you're kind of drifting off in this direction, and we need to get you back on track now instead of waiting for 3 months or 6 months. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much, Nita. Karen, do you have anything to add before we move on?
I don't. However, there are a couple things in the chat.
Awesome.
Let me see. Kelly said to make sure that we hire awesome managers, and that I once solved a big problem, a department I once worked in, and I got into trouble and was told, I guess, that I wasn't being paid to think. So yeah, and actually Philomena said something as well earlier about the hiring. And so, that brings up the idea too of intentional hiring, right?
Yes.
Not hiring just to have people in seats or just because you have an opening, but really hiring with intention. And that takes some work because right from the start, you're trying to make sure that they are committed to the vision. They understand the vision even before they can be committed, because if they've never started, they can't be quite committed yet. But that they understand the vision, that they understand the expectations right up front, so that they know what they're getting into. And you create interview questions that help you to get at the heart of that, so that you can tell, and as much as you can in an interview, whether or not you feel like this person is a good fit.
Absolutely. Love that. Did anyone else in the chat have any additional brainstorm, alternative, anything else about us kind of diving into this?
Not that I saw.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So hiring becomes more important than ever, right? So when you look at how you can improve the solution-oriented thinking, you really want to, you can screenshot these questions, but if we go deeper to, I think, was it Kelly that posed the first problem? It's like,
It was Lisa.
Oh, Lisa. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So if we keep going deeper and deeper, we may or may not, because every business is different, we may uncover that it was one hiring problem. And there's really, one problem on our team that we have to either figure out to put them on a different seat on the bus, or they might just not be a good fit for the team. Like that's just layers and layers of determining that. The other thing you might uncover is that you might find out that there's a problem because there are not clear job descriptions. There may not be enough communication. It might not be consistent enough when you're doing the professional development meetings. You may find out that it's not clear who you need to hire. So you are just hiring the warm bodies, right? There's nothing, think of being a customer or consumer anywhere. When you are somewhere and you can tell that this person hates their job, it's so awkward, right? It's so awkward. It makes you feel like, oh, do I want to be here? Like, oh, okay, excuse me. Versus that person that it's just oozing out of their body. They're excited. You could tell that they love their job. Think about yourself in that team position of your own business. when you notice those things when you're out in the world, it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of the rub that people have told me they're getting from this person. So you just have to really think about, where is that root cause of the problem, and really clearly defining it. Because if you start just, it almost becomes like the whack-a-mole game. Does everyone know what that is? It's like where those things all pop up. If you just start whacking at everything, your team's going to go, oh my goodness. Like, you're just going to annihilate them. It's just energetically not going to feel right. So get clarity on going deep enough to really, really know what the actual problem is, and not just assuming that you know. All of these questions are about digging deeper, because sometimes when we ask these questions, what are the possible solutions? When you ask what the possible solutions are, other things pop up that might make you say, oh, you know what? That's actually, maybe we need to go back to the problem, because this solution is actually for something different. So keep working through that. And it's multiple layers. It's almost like when I was a kid, my mom had a cake baking and decorating business. And it's like, if you don't get all the layers of frosting on the cake, you can see through to the cake. So you've got to layer it. It's the same thing. You've got to know the layers. And then when you're doing that, you can apply different methods, so that thorough problem analysis and then the tools and frameworks for the problem assessment can all be a part of it. One of the things that we always did for hiring was we came up with a problem assessment, so that when our interviewing team was going through the different applicants, they would gold star things, knowing that, okay, this seems like a good fit. And then we had a whole different process for really asking questions from a place of, as if they were already on the team, how would they solve problems? Because if you're going to set the culture that you're innovative and you're working with all your team members to be solution oriented, then you need to hire people that have that same mindset, right? That have that same mindset. So think about a couple of questions to add to your interview process that lets you know if people are solution oriented. Karen, do you have anything to add there?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, awesome. So when we're thinking about innovative solutions, does anyone want to brainstorm? Like, we can take another topic. I think we have time to take another topic and brainstorm a little bit, so that we can make sure we're getting diverse perspectives within the organization. Sometimes if you just answer the one note, it's again just one layer. We want to make sure that we're being really innovative and being diverse with our solutions.
Okay, so there's nothing in the chat yet, but I think folks are thinking and wanting to interject. And so we do have one. And I don't know if it's Tamara or Tamra. So either way, please forgive me if I said it the wrong way. Clicks at work.
Let me ask a follow-up question, just to make sure. So clicks meaning like people being clicky and leaving people out. Is that what we're saying by clicks? Or people clicking on things, shopping while they're at work?
I'm waiting for her to respond.
So I'm going to go with the idea that it's clicks, like people not being inclusive. And if it's different,
Yes,
then
I think it's being, yes, I think that is what she means at it. I don't think that she means like clicking. She spelled it like clicking on a mouse, but it's more clicks as in, folks forming little sub
yeah.
populations
So-
within the organization, I believe.
So this is,
Oh yeah, teaming up, she said.
Yeah, like teaming up in a way that's like being unkind or cruel to other, like that's just that again, like we have to go deeper on the layers. It's like what is a problem that's even underneath that? Because again, this goes back to, if we've permitted people to be cliquey and haven't been inclusive and diverse with who we ask opinions of, then there might be people that gather together and pick on or just leave people out of the solution process. And that goes back to the deeper layers of, okay, so if you are wanting to transform a culture to now be more diverse and more inclusive, what's one thing, like if in the chat, like what's one thing you would do to start changing that culture around? Karen, do you have anything to add while we wait on them?
No, I think that it's a great question because clicks are in fact a real thing, and you find them on every job. But I guess my question would be, why is there a concern about the clicks? I guess because my thinking being this: are we concerned because we are one of the folks that are on the outside looking in, or are these clicks actually negatively impacting our business? Because sometimes people just gravitate towards each other because they have things in common, and folks that don't have those things in common view them as clicks. But it's different if we're a clique because we have a shared interest versus we're a clique of mean girls and we only wear pink on Wednesdays.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
that was a good way to put it.
Right. and that's impacting the way that we do business. Okay, so she said negative effect, that there's a negative effect.
So it's the mean girl syndrome, or I'm not saying that it's definitely girls, but the mean people syndrome, right? That is, again, going deeper, because Karen, what you said is so important to recognize, because there are cliques that are good for the business, right? When people get together and have a common interest that they want to be, they want to spend more time together. If it's not negatively impacting the business, there is no problem to solve. But if there is negativity, then that is going, deeper. You're going to have to go deeper to the root, find out. Basically, you're going to have to find out who is the source. There usually is a leader source, and this person could be leading people, but not in alignment with the vision of your company. They're literally, oftentimes you'll find where there's a stronger leader, but they're doing the negative. We want to avoid that. That is one of those things that you have to get a hold of that quickly and work efficiently. Any other points of view on that topic of the mean people syndrome within the cliques?
Well, Kelly is posting a lot. She's having a whole conversation in the chat. But one of the things that she said is that she plans to have an annual bonus where everyone will be willing to work together. Everyone needs to work collectively, otherwise no one will get the bonus. No, Kelly, no need to apologize. I'm just trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up with the conversation. That's all. Please go forth and type your heart out. Yeah. The only thing that I would caution with that, Kelly, is that sometimes not all competition is good competition. And if someone feels that someone else impacted their ability to get a monetary reward and they may really need it, somebody else may not, that could cause some unforeseen issues. And somebody could get hurt, quite frankly. So you want to be careful in how you do that, because an all or nothing situation is certainly very, very different. What I would do, I mean, certainly I would maybe, yeah, and of course, this is your business. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm saying that as a suggestion, I would work on some team building exercises in which folks can earn things, little tickets or gift cards or, a day off or something like that, as opposed to telling people because one thing about it is you only have control over yourself. You don't have control over other folks. You cannot make them work. You cannot make them, you can't hold, I don't know. You know where I'm going with it, right?
Yeah, it's like
Right.
the situation behavior, right?
Exactly.
We only can control our behavior.
Exactly.
Situations are thrown at us all day long, but the
Exactly.
behavior of our own, right?
Right.
We can positively impact and be a joy to work with. Like Karen is
Exactly.
amazing to work with, so I want to work with her, right? But that's a behavior, right? We can positively impact that and get a result, or people can negatively impact that and, pour kerosene on it. It's just like,
Right. And so Kelly says the fuzzy money auction. Now, I'm not familiar with what that is.
oh, I don't either.
So Kelly, can you tell us more about the fuzzy money auction?
So
Okay.
we're going to wait for Kelly
Yes.
to come through with that. And so there are many different perspectives, right? This is why the idea of solutions rather than problems is a deep, it's a deep layered conversation that you will have today, tomorrow with your team, and continuously. If you want to continue to grow and at every level of business, there's another layer to grow, but this is an ongoing conversation. Solutions, it never stops, right? There's always new situations, new things coming out that disrupt your industry. And the more that we can set the foundation that we are fostering a culture in a community of innovative thinkers where ideas are welcome, this is how you start this at the ground floor. And it doesn't matter how long you've been in business, if you're just getting started, if you've been around over 10 years and you're like about to scale up. The thing is that this can be implemented at any time. And you'll need that momentum to kick it off. But once it's going, it builds its own momentum that it can be part of your culture. Karen, did we get the answer from Kelly?
Not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. She's
So do you have
probably
anything
still
to add
typing.
about the layers of how, this is one of those things that's like, okay, you got to have fun with it. Sometimes we would do meetings that's like, okay, bring all your crazy ideas to the table. And we would say the most ridiculous things during our innovative brainstorm, like, okay, everyone's going to do this. And it would be, okay, we're all going to run around the building at 3 p.m., like a fire drill. Is that just sometimes it is going outside the box, doing really, really sort of crazy high level thinking so that we can use the creative part of our brain instead of just the analytical side, right? It's just like sometimes going, okay, well, the crazier the idea will lead you back to something that's actually a viable solution. And I encourage you, have fun with this stuff. That's where things just get really fun when you can have fun with that innovative process. Do you have anything to add there?
No, I don't. I'm going to still wait for Kelly's response, but it's about 8:31 or so. So we have, we're getting close on time. So if you want to move on to the next thing, and then as soon as she shares, I will let you know.
So the next thing is empowering your team. And this has come up already with the questions that we had. So the more you can create a supportive and empowering work environment where as leaders come up through your company, you're training the leaders on how to lead. It's almost like as the leader, you're going to wear all the hats in the beginning. And then you're going to say you have 5 different positions in your company. Then you're going to work really hard to replace yourself in the areas that you don't like, right? First, the stuff that you're not that good at, replace yourself there first, but train the person coming behind you on how you'd like it handled. And then when they're better at it than you, let them train the next person so that then they're replacing themselves. That's how you create this delegating responsibility and fostering autonomy, because if you try to do everything, you will burn out. No one wants to work with a know-it-all, right? I mean, is that fun for anyone? We got to own our mistakes and know when we're, when it's time to do something different. So this is if you want to copy down this link and watch this at any time, this is such a fun case study to look at, almost to make yourself laugh anytime you want to think about a practical application of problem solving. So it's all about building a tower and how they did a study, and this is an amazing TED Talk. They did a study on the CEOs versus business students versus lawyers, kindergartners, and then architects and engineers. So it's pretty cool to see how the kindergartners performed. So if you want to grab that, because I don't want to risk that we would lose our connection, but this is a really great TED Talk to watch. That's all about the practical application of problem solving. Are we good to move on, Karen? Anything in the chat?
Yeah, we are. I was getting ready to respond. I was responding to Lisa in the chat because she said, would a box for creative, innovative ideas be beneficial? I feel like I have a team who is very introverted. And so what I was starting to say in the chat is that that's a great idea as long as you are actually going into that box, reading those ideas and utilizing some of the suggestions, or at least giving people some feedback like, hey, we got this, this suggestion in the innovation box, and then you open up a dialogue because you give your team an option to really have some conversation around the idea that's in the box, and they can all feel like, oh my gosh, yes, that's a great idea. Or, well, I don't know, but you don't let it get too negative. You say, well, maybe we could put a pin in this idea. We maybe just need to think this out a little bit more, but to definitely generate conversation about it. But if you're going to have a box and you never go into it and people feel like they're not being heard, then it's an exercise that is better left alone. And then Kelly said that the fuzzy money thing was that employees earn the fuzzy money dollars each time they reach a target or achieve a level of productivity, and that need to be worked. So the ways need to be worked out for each position, and then various products and gifts are bought by the company, and then every month staff have the auction and use their fuzzy money dollars to buy the item that they want. In the auction, unused dollars roll over to the next month. So if there's something, that somebody wants, or it's nothing they want this time, they still have their fuzzy money. And yes, I think that's a terrific idea, and certainly better than kind of an all or nothing situation. You're setting it up for a culture of, we're going to catch you doing something right. right? We're not penalizing you if you didn't catch it, but you did a great job here. And then that will in itself begin to motivate people, because who doesn't want to come to the auction with some fuzzy money?
I love that. One of the teams I worked with for a long time, we used to do these snap meetings. They were every Friday, and we would have these little notepads that was catch someone doing something right. So you can add that into the fuzzy money, right? Like, because going back to the solution part, it's learned, right? This question of, is it innate or learned? Teaching and leading your team for what to look for, catch people doing something right. That's going to help you find people that are encouraging each other to go the extra mile, to high five each other, whatever it is. But really catch people in the act of doing something right helps us point out all the good that's happening, instead of just, because we don't want to create, the idea is not to search for problems, right? We don't want to search for the problems. We want to search for solutions. We want to change that focus to actually be for solutions.
Right. And then people become standouts when they're getting all the fuzzy money, because then they're modeling the behavior that you're trying to incentivize around the space, or that you're trying to get to be a part of your culture. Right. And so those folks are getting rewarded for being a part of that culture, and then others can see that.
And this slide is good if you want to take a picture of just, this is the cognitive barriers that sometimes happen when it comes to problem solving, because we have to be, we have to be, we have to be educated on the idea that not everybody's coming from the same place. There are people that have safety and different levels of psychology because of how they've grown up, because of past bosses, because of mean behaviors in other situations. So we can't assume that we know how everybody's coming to the table, but we have to be clear and adaptable and lead our team to be the most effective as possible. And we just have to know that there are layers of emotional and cognitive response that, some people are constantly in fight or flight. And if that's the case, then, we might need to help them get the resources they need to work through that. So just know that it's not always a straight linear line to the answer. Sometimes we have to get creative and help people solve personal things. There's a lot of stress happening in the world today. So you're almost like a business owner or coach, you're all the pieces. So I strongly urge you to at least have resources that you can refer people to, so that when this kind of stuff comes up, that you are not just at a loss and don't know what to do, because this is tough stuff. As a leader, sometimes we don't realize that people aren't coming to our company with the same mindset and skill set. We've got to help them develop the skills, develop the mindset to be solution oriented. So the other thing is to think about the fact that we're always, no matter where we are in our business, we're sort of always trying to replace ourselves. We want to grow leaders, not just followers within our company. That's why the better you are at delegating, the more you can move through the entrepreneurial problem solving skills. When people are new to your company, when you break it down to just the 3 C's of problem solving, you want to clarify, consider, and choose. Right? We've given you tons of ways to do this. And then if you remember nothing else, because I know sometimes it feels like a fire hose coming at you, right? There's been a lot of information. Just think about clarify, consider, choose. And choosing the best choice based on what you've clarified as the problem, you will develop your leadership muscle, and the more that you use it. So you have to trust your instincts in some ways as well. Karen, do you have anything to add there?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
All right. So The more that you can get your team on the same page, and that's going to happen through clear communication. Everyone knows the target. So going back to having your clear goals as a company, as that you're actually living the vision, mission, and values that you've set, and refining, because the goals, if you set a goal and never talk about it, is it really a goal, right? Like bringing that to the attention, whether you have daily stand-up meetings to talk about the goals, you do weekly, or you do monthly. The thing is bringing everyone together as a team and really focusing on the target is going to help everyone get on the same page and have clear communication. That is going to be the source to staying solution oriented instead of searching for problems. And then we're going to put this all together, right? Now we've spent a lot of time talking about how to identify where the problem actually is. Once that's clear, then we can go into our solutions and then get creative around that. So now that we know more about solutions, does anyone have any questions or anything else for us before we start to wrap things up?
Okay, so Lisa says, if the goals are mostly sales related, what are some types or what are some ways to translate it to the team so that they don't feel like salesmen?
I will need more information than that to answer this effectively, but I'm going to just give an example. So if you have a goal of X amount of sales per month, something that is a lever to pull could be getting more leads, right? So you make it, the goal is to get X amount of leads, right? Because we know for every 100 leads we get, we have the statistics to know how many sales that leads to. That could be one way. It could be how many calls, like how many calls did you do? How many emails did you send? So there's always a lever to pull that leads to the actual sales. And sometimes when you're growing a team, when you focus on the lever, then you as the business owner will get the sales goal met. Karen, am I making any sense here?
Oh, absolutely. And Kelly said, instead of salesman, reframe to the title of business development manager.
That's a good one. Yeah, and depending on what the business is and that type of thing, there's always a lever like of what you can pull and where your team needs to spend their time. And that could be the goal, right? Like how, especially if it's a group of people, like how many calls, how many emails, whatever that looks like. How many people served, right? Anything to add there, Karen?
No, yeah, no, not really. But it sounds like, first of all, if you have a team of introverts, and then you're asking them to sell something that may not necessarily be in their wheelhouse. Anita says that you may also consider some people are developing marketing materials, scripts for phone calls, etc. So they are, it sounds like what she's saying is give folks things that they have strengths in, right? That they feel more comfortable in to help the team to be able to sell and meet some of those goals. If I'm getting that correct. Yeah. So, that could be one of the things. And then the other thing is that, first of all, the other thing is that if you have the expectation that folks are selling things, again, it goes back to hiring and hiring practices, but it also goes to the development of your team. You have to have some folks that are there able to train people in the way in which you want to have things sold, because all sales techniques are not created equally, right? And so you want to be able to give your folks some type of a roadmap for what you want them to sell, how you want them to sell it, what methods are okay to do that. And you want to constantly be developing them and coaching them instead of saying, okay, here's what we want you to do, now have at it. Because there are going to be some people that aren't as natural as at doing it as other people. So you have to, manage your expectations and provide the resources for folks to be able to meet those expectations.
Yeah, one of the things in marketing that we work on with that is developing your signature core story framework. Once you have your signature core story framework around your business, then you can write the selling script so that everybody that is a salesperson, even if we don't call them salespeople, sometimes we call them like the speakers of our company or different, just depends on what you're selling. But we typically don't call any of our salespeople anymore. There's usually some type of customer experience title, customer driven. And when you set the goal and everybody knows the core story framework, then going back to your point, Karen, about the fact that if people are introverts and not salespeople, we don't want to force them into that position. We want to do what Anita said. We want to give them the role of maybe writing the email, maybe writing the call scripts, and getting the buy-in where the goals are attached to that. And then just like it says right here, we want to hire who you need. So you may need a few people that are the people that aren't afraid to ask for the sale, right? On your team, that might be your next hiring. And I love what Steve Jobs always said. It's like, it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do, right? You want to hire people on your team that are smarter than you in the areas that are lacking. And then here's just some tools that are good for helping you through figuring out who you need to hire. Any other questions in the chat right now? When it comes to the hiring, one of the things that's really important is to know the key attributes of a good problem solver. So you want to find people that are persistent, intelligent, and empathetic. This is going to make for a good solution-oriented team member to put in your team of leaders. It's also going to make for a really good salesperson, because they're, somebody that's really good at sales is usually really persistent and very empathetic, because they can relate and connect with people. And then of course they have to be intelligent, because they need to be able to really talk about your business core story framework, or any of the key things that you are, like whatever problem you're solving in your business, that's the thing that why customers will buy from you. No matter what we're doing in business, we're solving a problem. And when you're clear about what problem you're solving for your clients, then you can put all the right people in the right seats on the bus. Okay.
Very good.
So we've covered this. Karen brought this up earlier about, if you permit something, then we're promoting it, right? So again, this is just diving deeper into the root of any problem, right? We want to make sure that the good part of problems is what we're solving for our clients. That's why we're in business. That's the good side. The other side is when there's problems being created as we're growing a team and developing people. We need to be looking for solutions over here, because that helps us serve our clients better. Karen, anything to add here?
No, I think we've covered it, but I do love that quote, and I wrote it down the last time you said it, and this time again as a great reminder.
I think it's in my first book. beyond common. But I think I really dive into what you promote. So here's some other additional things that you can screenshot that are about keeping that problem solving culture going, because we want to always be teaching at the core. And then I'm going to move on quite quickly so we can wrap up. Does anyone have any other questions for us before we dive into our key takeaways from tonight?
Kelly put in the chat that she once read about an employer who always take keys, potential employees and managers out for lunch, and the employer watches how the person treats the wait person. Is how they would treat the employer would treat them if they were a wait person. I don't know if I got that all correctly, but I think what she's saying is that she would, they would take them out to see how they treated wait staff so that they would have some indication of how they would treat others. And I think that is a brilliant idea. Oh, and so this Tam, she says, brilliant. Yes.
Okay, when you break bread with people, you really uncover some layers to their natural behavior patterns.
You definitely do. And because when you're breaking bread, people are at ease. And so they forget sometimes that it's an interview, or that it's, that it's a evaluative thing unless you say something. But you can definitely learn a lot from that.
I love that. Anything else?
Nothing more in the chat.
So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to share. But I strongly encourage you to write down a key takeaway from tonight. What is one thing that you're going to implement, right? Because you don't want this to be just another workshop that you took, but then when we don't take action, we're not going to get to that next layer of learning, right? So write down one action you're going to take and feel free to share it in the chat with us. Share with us next week how it worked for you. We're always excited to hear about that. And you want to just go back to, from the recapping, it's like develop ways to improve your problem solving skills. The more you improve, the better you're going to be able to lead your team through it. And get really curious about asking questions. In the very beginning, we said our commitment was to invoke a sense of getting curious, to help you in the area of communication, and to really start digging into creating a solution-oriented culture. Mm-hmm. So hopefully you feel like we've got you on the path to developing new tools within your organization so that you can be more proactive in this area. And then next week, we're going to dive into how to really apply them and what it looks like when things are more in action that way.
Fantastic. So we do have some folks. So Kelly says that she is going to work on clarity of job description.
Ooh, I love that.
And yes, I do too, because, and here's the thing, when you work on the job description, what happens is a lot of times the job description says one thing, but then over time we add things, we take things away. And so the job actually looks nothing like the job description. So you always want to be, updating your expectations and your job descriptions accordingly. Lisa says that she's going to make sure the company's vision and goals are a strong part of the onboarding process. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And then Tamara says, Tamara says that she loves what Lisa said, and she also wants to add an anonymous suggestion box. And again, don't forget what we said about the suggestion box, that if you add it, you really want to be using it, and folks really have to see you using it. Otherwise, it will just sit as an empty box. Irma says that she's getting ideas to implement when she goes to team build and what are some things to look for. And Philomena says, develop a more sense of consciousness or of my working environment. Okay, so everybody sounds like they are taking some great stuff away from this time, and you just keep adding those on with the things that you have said that you were taking away in the previous weeks. And last week is our fourth and final workshop of this session.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that you join us, and I'm hoping that we will be able to carve out some time to really talk about, kind of a combination of these things and how you put all of these things that you've learned from each of the sessions to work, and, kind of how you're working with that, and give you a little bit of direction or answer questions for you if you've tried some things and now have come up with some questions. And then Kelly says, for those of us who are attending all of them, maybe have a final webinar where it's opened up as a mini pitching session and networking session. And then Irma said, yes, thank you both. Oh, you're welcome, Irma. And Anita, you are back on camera now. So we will ask you, is it possible for us to just maybe do an hour session for folks that have I
was just thinking we could actually set it up as a meeting.
Yeah.
Maybe a week after the next session, set it up the next week, and just invite everybody who's here tonight to be part of that. That would be fine. I would like to make a comment because
Yes.
I noticed that I think all of our attendees are women, which tells you something about the mindset of women business owners as opposed to men business owners. Women, I think, are much more interested in building a team and having a collaborative, effective working group than men. And so I really applaud everyone who is attending these sessions, because I think that leads to a wonderful future for small businesses.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Anita. Yeah. And yeah, if we can get that on the books and anyone interested, and we will, kind of have a little bit of a drop-in session. And It looks like Lisa says that my husband and I both co-owners, and we balance each other out so much. And that is a great space to be in. But yeah, because we've given you a lot over these last several weeks. And, each time we ask you to take one thing away, and we want to be able to debrief, answer questions, and find out how these things are working for you and what you've tried. So I'm definitely open to that. We'll have to connect on our schedules, Tracy, and make sure that we can do it, and we'll get with Anita. And so look for, just kind of a meeting invite, not another webinar, but just a meeting invite to join us so that we can do some debriefing. I think that would be a fantastic idea.
Well, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, and thank you all so much for being here the last 3 weeks. And we are so excited to see you for our final session next week.
And I just remind everybody that you will get a copy of the slides and a link to the recording. So any of the links that you have on your slides will be live when they get them. So, and again, they will get the entire recording. So they'll have everything at hand. Fantastic. They can watch it as many times as they want.
Thanks, Anita. I appreciate that.
So anyway, wonderful that all of you stuck with us for a couple of hours, and we've enjoyed having you. Thank you both, Tracy and Karen, for all the wonderful information, and we'll expect even more next week.
Fantastic. And then there are folks that are in the chat. Nailama, I believe, asked about having access to the previous sessions that were missed, just so they'd be able to kind of catch up or go back and
Yeah,
take a little deeper dive.
They will be on our website. Usually we post new videos every Friday, so they should be up on our website under recorded webinars. So if you don't find us